Two Texas garages, two opposing philosophies. One builds beefy lifted trucks for rowdy clients, Texas metal. The other resurrects barn-find classics with soul, iron resurrection. But who truly owns the Texas garage scene? Texas is home to two of the most talked-about custom shops in the country, Texas Metal and Iron Resurrection. Both are born and bred in the Lone Star State, and both have built reputations as elite garages on TV. But their styles couldn't be more different. One delivers shock value. The other delivers soul. One lifts trucks into the clouds. The other breathes life into rusted classics most people would walk right past. And in a state where garage culture is a full-blown religion, the divide between these two crews has fans picking sides. On one side, Texas Metal, based in Houston, home of extensive metal works. Think air ride suspensions, oversized wheels, bold wraps, and builds that demand attention even when parked. Led by Bill Carlton, this crew doesn't just customize. They go over the top by design. If it's wild, loud, and impossible to ignore, it's probably coming out of this shop. They've built everything from SEMA monsters to slammed Cadillacs that defy logic. And thanks to HBO Max, they've become icons of excess and customization culture. Now shift gears to Iron Resurrection in Johnson City. Joe Martin and his tight-knit crew don't chase trends. They chase meaning. Their shop digs through barns, finds forgotten classics, and transforms rust into rolling art. The show is less about flash and more about feeling. Every build tells a story. Every episode is personal. And the cars? They don't scream. They whisper legacy. Two garages, one state, completely different roads. But only one question matters. Who truly runs Texas? Scroll through any Reddit thread or car forum, and the divide becomes crystal clear. On one side, fans of Texas Metal praise the spectacle, the lifted trucks, the wild paint jobs, the sheer audacity of their builds. Nobody does it bigger, one user writes, but right below, another claps back. Yeah, but how long do those builds really last? And that's the crux of it. Texas Metal builds for show, for impact, for clients who want to make a scene. But some fans say that comes at the cost of real craftsmanship. Over at Iron Resurrection, the tone changes. The builds are quieter, cleaner, more deliberate. On forums, fans use words like heart, soul, and authentic. They talk less about horsepower and more about preservation. Joe Martin's team doesn't just restore. They respect the original story behind each vehicle. That ethos has earned them something even flashier than chrome: credibility. Facebook fan pages reveal even more. Texas Metal followers love the energy, the chaos, the high-end transformations. But complaints pop up too. Rushed work, client frustrations, episodes that focus more on drama than detail. Meanwhile, Iron Resurrection fans often note how refreshing it is to see a crew that doesn't cut corners, doesn't chase trends, and doesn't shout to be heard. And so, the line is drawn. Flash versus finesse, spectacle versus soul. But which philosophy has more staying power? If you walk into extensive metalworks, you'll hear grinders sparking, compressors hissing, and bass-heavy music rattling toolboxes. It's a fast-moving machine. Bill Carlton runs his team like a battalion, rapid-fire instructions, last-minute client requests, and trucks that roll out looking more like SEMA showpieces than daily drivers. Function meets flair, but flair usually wins. For Texas Metal, the goal is impact. If you don't turn heads, why even bother? Now cross the state to Johnson City, where Iron Resurrection lives by a different code. In Joe Martin's world, the story matters just as much as the specs. When they pull a rusted-out 50s Ford from a field, they don't see decay, they see potential. They spend weeks reshaping panels by hand, locating obscure parts, even fabricating badges that haven't existed in decades. The final product isn't just a car, it's a revival. Bill Carlton's clients often walk in with bold visions, chopped tops, hydraulic lifts, $20,000 paint jobs. Joe Martin's crew digs into the past, trying to uncover a car's soul, not overwrite it. It's custom culture versus craftsmanship culture. And neither is wrong, but they're not remotely the same. So when it comes to creativity, which is harder? Building something loud from scratch, or resurrecting something forgotten with care? Watch an episode of Texas Metal, and you'll see sparks flying, literally and figuratively. The shop is a circus of talent, tension, and controlled chaos. Guys rush to meet deadlines, parts arrive late, tempers flare, and decisions get made on the fly. It's not polished, and that's part of the appeal. You feel like you're watching a garage that's barely holding it together, but still pulling off miracles. The drama is real. The energy? Relentless. But over at Iron Resurrection, the shop culture plays out like a quiet symphony. Joe Martin leads with calm focus, and his crew follows suit. Jokes fly, sure. There's pressure, of course, but it's not chaos. It's controlled craftsmanship. Amanda Martin holds down logistics like a general, while guys like Jason and Shorty bring decades of unshakable experience to every frame, weld, and paint coat. It's the kind of environment where nobody's barking orders because everyone already knows what has to be done. And here's the kicker. Both shops get the job done. Both shops deliver incredible builds, but the energy behind them couldn't be more different. Texas Metal moves like a firestorm. Iron Resurrection moves like a heartbeat. So ask yourself, if you had one dream build and one shot to get it right, which shop's vibe would you trust more? Business at Texas Metal is a fast-moving freight train. Clients roll in from across the country, athletes, influencers, oil tycoons, with wild visions and deeper pockets. Extensive Metalworks thrives on walk-ins, bold demands, and aggressive turnarounds. They can take a base model truck and transform it into a slammed, lifted, wrapped spectacle in record time. That kind of speed gets attention, but it also comes with risk. When you build at that pace, there's no room for mistakes, yet somehow, mistakes still happen. In contrast, Iron Resurrection rarely deals with random clients walking through the front door. Their builds start with a phone call from someone who found a '67 Impala in a barn, or a car that's been sitting in the family for 40 years. There's history behind these rides, emotion. Often, Joe and Amanda Martin are the ones finding the vehicle, then reaching out to owners who never imagined their rust bucket could be reborn. It's not a business model, it's a mission. Texas Metal thrives on volume and spectacle. Iron Resurrection thrives on intimacy and detail. One takes 10 projects at once. The other commits to a few, knowing they'll take months. That means fewer episodes, fewer reveals, but more connection. Every car feels personal. Every delivery moment hits harder. But when things don't go as planned, and they rarely do, the differences in how these shops handle crisis says everything about their core. At Texas Metal, pressure isn't the exception, it's the atmosphere. When a high-profile client demands a lift kit, custom wheels, a wrap, and a brand-new interior in under 3 weeks, the crew doesn't flinch. They just move. But that speed sometimes leads to corner cutting, and fans online haven't been shy about calling it out. A few customers have even voiced frustration. Suspensions that didn't ride right, paint details that missed the mark. or builds that looked great, but didn't function well on the road. Inside forums and YouTube comment sections, there are whispers. That truck looked rushed. Too much style, not enough substance. It doesn't mean the work is bad. It just means the pressure shows. Meanwhile, Iron Resurrection faces its own kind of crisis. Rust, rot, and mystery. Every build starts with uncertainty. Frames crumbling, panels eaten through, parts no longer in production. And while that kind of restoration takes time, the payoff is often sweeter. Fans watch as the team solves impossible problems, fabricates the unfabricatable, and somehow delivers a finished product that feels like resurrection in the truest sense. One shop battles deadlines, the other battles time itself. But no matter the pressure, a garage is only as good as the people in it. And what these crews say behind the scenes? That's where the truth really lives. Step inside either shop, and you'll find pride. But the tone of that pride couldn't be more different. At Iron Resurrection, the team is tight. Joe Martin isn't the kind of leader who yells across the shop floor. He leads with respect. Amanda keeps things on track. Jason is a metal whisperer. Shorty's paint jobs are legendary. The whole crew operates like a family. Not perfect, but deeply bonded. You hear it in how they talk about each other. You see it in how they push through 10-hour days without snapping. There's no TV character act here. What you see is who they are. On the Texas Metal side, you feel the intensity. Bill Carlton runs a tight operation, but it's a different kind of heat. There's energy, swagger, pressure, and for some, that works. But fans and former employees have hinted at turnover, burnout, and builds that felt more like production schedules than passion projects. Critics say the show focuses too much on bravado, not enough on the crew's voices. It's not that the Texas Metal team isn't talented, they are. But when a shop becomes a brand, something gets lost. And for some, that loss shows in the silence between the camera cuts. So, which matters more? The quality of the builds, or the character of the builders behind them? Texas isn't just a setting, it's a character. And both Texas Metal and Iron Resurrection represent two very different faces of that identity. Texas Metal bleeds Houston. Big money, big attitude, and bold statements. The shop draws from the same culture that created slab cars, candy paint, and trunk-poppin' sound systems. Extensive metalworks builds for a city that celebrates excess. Clients walk in with iced-out grills, gold watches, and visions of 30-inch wheels with suicide doors. The trucks that roll out of Bill Carlton's shop don't just drive, they stunt. Now, head northwest to Johnson City. That's hill country. Rural roads, old barns, and small-town values. And it shows in the way Iron Resurrection operates. Joe Martin and his team don't just restore cars. They restore memories. They rescue forgotten relics from garages, fields, and auctions, then bring them back with reverence. The cars aren't just for show. They're for storytelling. They're rolling time capsules built with heart, not hashtags. In many ways, these two shops mirror the cultural split within Texas itself. One side embraces modern muscle, showmanship, and power. The other leans into tradition, legacy, and craft. Neither is wrong. Both are Texas, and each has its tribe. But when it comes to real loyalty, who do the people of Texas stand behind? And why? The answer might surprise you. The comment sections don't lie. Car shows don't lie. And when you walk through a Texas meetup, you'll see the divide up close. Massive lifted trucks with LED halos, air ride suspension, and custom grills. That's Texas Metal's crowd. Flashy, proud, loud. These fans respect the grind and love a vehicle that turns heads before it even moves. Then there's the Iron Resurrection camp. Vintage Chevys, rare Pontiacs, restored classics with subtle details only a true gearhead would notice. These fans care about the story behind the steel. They don't want viral builds. They want timeless ones. For them, it's about honoring the past, not outshining the next guy. And the wild part? Most fans respect both. Even the loudest critics of one shop admit the other does what it does incredibly well. Because at the core of Texas car culture is a shared obsession: making something yours. Whether you're lifting a Silverado 5 feet off the ground or reviving a rusty Bel Air, it all comes down to love of the build. The fans choose what speaks to them, but there's no universal winner. That's not how Texas works. Here, individuality is the culture. So maybe the question was never, who's better? Maybe it's, why does Texas need them both? The truth is, there's no war here. Just two legends carving different paths across the same state. Texas metal brings the heat, big horsepower, wild designs, and aggressive builds that own every inch of the spotlight. They represent modern Texas swagger. Go big, go bold, don't hold back. Bill Carlton and his team know how to command attention, and they've built a business that reflects it. Iron Resurrection brings the heart. Their builds are soulful, intentional, and deeply rooted in Texas heritage. They slow down, dig deep, and remind fans why cars became meaningful in the first place. Joe Martin and his crew aren't chasing trends. They're preserving history. One shop is about transformation. The other is about resurrection. And in a state where car culture is as big as the land itself, both are essential. Texas doesn't crown one king. It builds a dynasty. One that includes lifted trucks, chopped classics, frame-off restos, and chrome dreams. So, who runs Texas? They both do, in completely different ways. And if you're lucky enough to live in the Lone Star State, you don't have to choose. Because in Texas, garage legends don't compete. They coexist. And together, they define the road.